Hey out there, welcome to Flip the Switch Education. My name's Jeremy. I'm the founder of Flip the Switch, and what I wanted to do was create some very short, easy videos to help new beginners with Unity and doing some cool things with Unity, and especially with Unity VR, but this stuff will work with Unity 3D as well. So what I want to talk about today is animation events and how we can build in a system that's going to allow a character to have a series of different things go on throughout events. So right now we'll take a look at, we have this character, calling it the Time Traveler. And so when you focus in and you look at the animator, you can see down here that there's several different animations that go along with it. And so what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to have this character speak or have things appear in her hand or disappear or appear behind or not appear behind, or have her, whatever I want to do as far as an event within Unity, I want to have that happen at a certain time in the animation. So let's say that this is where I want her to speak. So I look at here, I'm at 2 minutes and 18 seconds at frame 138. So I'm going to type in frame 138 and I'm going to hit enter. And then down right below where the frames are, you're going to see this little icon here with the plus. It kind of looks like an elongated end of a pencil with a plus mark. And when I click that, it's going to enter in a Unity event. Now, this is not all that difficult, and it took me very little time to get to this step. But then you look up here and you have these empty fields and you say, okay, well, what now? And if I leave this the way it is, and you go to play, it's going to give you an error as soon as it hits this, because basically this trigger, this animation event, is going to try to call the function, which is right now blank. And so there's nothing in here, so it's going to kind of lose its mind. So there's a few different things you can do in here. But one of the best ways to do this without having to build a whole bunch of junk on the character, because like if you want to do individual audio, well, you'd have to then put in an audio source on top of the character and then call that audio source, because most of the time the events within the animation are going to need to be on the character. But what we're going to do is we're going to build an event system that can stay outside of the character, so you don't have to load the character up with all kinds of stuff, and it allows us to really have control over that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go create an empty C# script. And then we're just going to call this animation event system. So when we open this up, we have the total blank thing. We want to make sure this says an animation event system. And then there's a couple things we need to add on in order to get this to work correctly. Is we have to be able to use the events within the Unity engine. So at the top, you're going to type in using, and then you're going to type in Unity engine, and then you're going to type in .events. So now that'll allow the functions for the Unity events to be called. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we don't need a void start and we don't need a void update, so we can just delete those out. What we need is a public class that's going to allow us to have multiple different events, and also on top of that, multiple different things for each event. So we'll go through this script real slowly so that you can understand exactly what's happening. So the first thing we want to do is to do a string event. So we're going to type in public class and then string event. And then we're just going to name that Unity event. And then we're going to put in string. And then outside of it, we are going to put in brackets. So what that's doing is it's going to, each event will allow us to have a string where we drop it down and continue to add things. So that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you want to do is right below the public class is we want to do the Unity individual events. Now this is where you can decide how many you want to do. We're just going to do a few for this one, but you can add as many as you want. So we're going to do public Unity event, Unity event 1. Okay, so if we look up here, we have this public class string event. So we're creating a string event. We called that string event Unity event. We put the string in brackets, and then now we're calling each individual event. So now we're going to call that Unity event, and we're going to call it Unity event 1. Now what you can do is copy this and paste it a few times and switch them to do 5. So now what that's going to do is give you 5 separate Unity events that are going to be attached to the character, and each one is going to be a string event that you can drop down and add as many different events as you want. So we're going to stop right there. You can again go in and add more events and more events and more events if you want. Now we've got our public class and we have these Unity events open, but we need to give it a function. We need to assign it something so that when the animator sees it, it knows what to do. So below these, you're going to type in void, which is going to start our function. And we're going to call it animation Unity event. And we're going to do that. So what this is here is this is the animation Unity event. This is the function that we're calling. After that, you need to put in your brackets and then drop the brackets down. So in this one, we're actually going to call it 1. Animation Unity event number 1. And then we need to tell it what to do. So what we're going to do with each one is we're going to invoke the event from that system. So we're going to type in Unity event number 1. So this is for the first Unity event and all of the actions that I want to have happen under that event. And then we type in dot invoke and close it off. Okay, so now what we have is we have a function of animation Unity event 1, and when that function is called, it's going to invoke Unity event number 1. So whatever I've put in this string event right here, it's going to call it there. So now that we've done that, it's really simple. We're just going to take this, we're going to copy this event, drop it down, paste it. And then we go in, and this is where it's really important to make sure that there's 2 things that you switch, because it's way easier to just copy and paste, but you need to make sure that it's better to separate them out a little bit better than I have, like this. And then it's really important to go in and change the Unity event. So you need to change the function. So now that I've renamed all the functions, if I were to leave it like this, what would happen is when we put the Unity event number 1, when we called this function, it would call Unity event 1. When we called Unity event 2, it would call number 1. So it will continue to call the same string value the entire way down unless I change these. So one of the things that's tough about this is make sure you change it, because it isn't going to give you an error, because right now this is a correct code saying that every time, whether it's animation Unity event 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, that it needs to be called. So to go through here and change this to Unity event 2 and go and change these all the way down to match the numbers that are next to them. Okay, so now that we've done that, we have each event, and you always want to make sure that the 1 and the 1 match up, which is why it's easier just to number these. So now you have 3, now you have 4, and now you have 5. So, and also make sure you don't misspell things. Now we have all 5 events. They're all lined up and ready to go. So this script is done. So we're going to click File, and we're going to click Save. Switch over to Unity. So now we have this animation event system. We're going to move it onto whatever object that you have that has the animator on. So here's my animator. This is the animator where I need these functions to be called. So we can just go ahead and grab the event system, drag it, and drop it. Now once you drag it and drop it, you can see that there are our 5 events that we created, 5 individual events. Now what's nice about this, because we did a string value, there's just a drop down box. We can add as many events as we want. And the first event we're going to add is we're going to have her speak at a certain point. So within here, I don't have to put the sounds on her. I can just make an audio source Make sure you take the awake off. So now we have this audio source. And now we're going to go into our animator. And you remember in her animator, we were in talking. We clicked on the animation. We decided we wanted that animation clip to sit right in the middle, right about 2 minutes and 18 seconds or so. So now right here is where you have to go and make sure that you're putting this all in correctly. So there's two things you need in here. The first thing is the function. This is going to be which event are you calling. So what we want is the first event. So we are going to be calling Unity Event 1. But you have to remember what it's called in the script. This is where it's really important. So it's best to write it down somewhere or keep it handy. So here's the script. Here it is, Animation Unity Event 1. So you can copy and paste, it works, or you can just put it into a document and have it ready. So we go back to the animator, go back to talking, and I'm going to paste that into the function. So now the function that it's calling is Unity Event 1. The only thing I need to make sure I have is this object, and the object is the script. So here it is, Animation Event System. So I'm going to double click on that, and that puts that in there. Now what'll happen is it will do whatever is in that event. So here's Unity Event. Right now I have nothing, so I'm going to take talking, I'm going to drop it on there, function, audio source, play. So now what's going to happen is on that event, halfway through, it's going to trigger Unity Event 1, which right now I have as just one single audio source playing.
Welcome, time traveler. My name is Anastasia, and I'm one of the temporal officers here at Flip the Switch.
So you can see that that works beautifully. But now let's say that I want to take that event and say, I didn't really like exactly where it was. Well, that's really easy. You just click on it, drag it wherever you want it to go. So you can take that event and you can move it around. The other thing that you can do is you can add more to it. So you can add anything that you want that's going to be an event within. You can add any event that you want. You can click this, you could have a game object appear, you could have it disappear. So any Unity events you can call, and you can call an unlimited amount within one animation event. So within that one event, I can call as many different things. I can have things appear and disappear, animations begin, animations stop. I can enable bools. There's so many different things that I can do by simply adding them to that event. So in this one, right now, I'm able to add up to 5 Unity events. So that means that within these animations, I can use 5 separate animation events. And if you get to a point where you feel like, oh my goodness, I need more, it's really simple to just go back into this script, copy and paste more of these Unity events, and just make more calls for Unity events. So right now I have Unity event up to 5. I could double this, copy and paste all of them, and then just change the numbers from event 5 to 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And now I'm going to have 10 Unity events that I can call just on this one character. So it's really helpful, and it doesn't require you to have a lot of things attached to the player. The only thing that you have attached to the object that's animated is that event system script. So great way to really control what you want to have happen with animations, because once you put that Unity event system in there, then anything that you want to do in Unity can be done whenever that animation event is triggered.